Hey everyone, welcome to Pass or Play. Alright, so today I will be reviewing Reasonable Doubt, Season 1, Episode 4, Guilty Until Proven Innocent, currently streaming on Hulu. Alright, so we open up with Daniel, the private investigator. He's in the hospital, he's beat up, bandaged with some bruised ribs, and Jack stops by to see if he's okay after getting beat up by Kalicia's cousin Morgan and her fiance. And then later we find out in this episode that they go to Morgan's job and basically they say, we'll pay you if you give us Kalicia's laptop, because we need to use that for evidence and whatever the contents, and documents on the laptop may be. All right, and then so we go into Braden now. Braden with the really at the urgency of his board, they want him to step down, to minimize the damage. And they want, Theo, his right hand man, to kind of take over as like the head of the company, for the time being. And Jack is like, no, everything needs to run as normal as it was before this case even came to be. You need to stay the head of your company. You need to stay the face of your company. Do everything like you were doing before this happened. You and your wife, you need to kind of, show a united front. You need to do everything that you were doing before. And, his wife, Sarah, is like, I'm on the charity board, of charities where brutally battered women, and how can I kind of do that when I have my husband being accused of brutally murdering someone, and Jax is like, everything needs to remain normal like it was before this case even happened. And so the next day too, with Braden, his Sarah and his their two kids come home from school, and Sarah's letting him know, we're getting looks and stares, people are talking about you, with the kids listening and hearing this information. And Braden is letting his kids know, people are just talking about daddy, but it's not true. And, he like hugs Sarah and he starts crying, saying, I need you. I love you. I'm sorry that I cheated on you with Kalisha, but you're my everything. I love you and our family. You know, she's like, oh, please stop crying. Okay. And so it kind of ends there. And in this episode too, it's really cool. They're showing you, how once I guess once it's confirmed that you're going to trial, how the law firm, they kind of build their team, the different parts of their legal team to support said defendant, or whatever. And so they're getting the different departments to kind of build this case for Braden, and they have to do this jury selection. They're specifically picking specific types of jurors, ones who aren't necessarily biased, who don't just view the law as black and white or black versus white. They want people who have a point of view that's more gray in the middle, where they don't have like an incoherent bias or biased point of view, or any kind of narrative driven point of view. They mentioned like how in the OJ Simpson case they had a majority black jury, and in the sense they kind of want that for Braden too. um, they want people, people of African Americans of his peers, majority, to be in this kind of jury as part of their selection. And they even mention Rich, which is the co-counsel of Jax, who's kind of stepping back because she is the defense lawyer. He says, I love black people, I love cops, and she's like, and Jackson's like, congratulations, but this isn't about you. You know, if it wasn't all white, selected jury, it wouldn't be considered prejudice, but you consider it prejudice if we're trying to go for an all, black jury of, Braden's peers. And part of Braden's, overall defense team that, Jax has put together, they're saying that he has, as far as his perception with the black community, especially specifically black women, it's very low. He's married to a white woman, and, since he became rich, he's kind of, you kind of removed himself from the community. So, they kind of, some people may feel like he's kind of sold out to an extent, that he has kind of separated himself from the community since he's become rich to an extent. So Jack sets up for him to go speak at this fundraiser, um, which is called Peace on the Streets, which is about removing, like guns from the streets. And initially, Jax writes this story for Braden, um, on his behalf, that she kind of has him read from an iPad, and he kind of starts off reading it, but then he recalls a story from when he was 17, and he was basically held at gunpoint by another teenager. And he talks about how, they both could have ended up dead, or one dead and one in prison, or both, and how, his friends told him that he should have been strapped, but he wasn't. And how, this other kid just ended up stealing Braden's shoes and wallet at that time when he was 17, but then come out 2 weeks later that this kid ended up being dead. And that, basically, if he had kind of fallen down that same path, he would have ended up dead too. And basically, in this story, he finds a true connection to the crowd at the fundraiser. And, people connect to his story, and you can tell that he kind of really connects to that crowd, and, they start clapping, and the news reporter asks, did you kill Kalisha Moore? And he's like, and Jack speaks on his behalf, like, no. And the people in the crowd are like, hell no. And so, this fundraiser is a step in trying to rebuild and kind of repolish his his perception within the black community, and just how they view him, especially, but more importantly, black women. And even in the show, they say, look at this black woman coming to save the day again, or needing black women to come save the day again, as far as the numbers. And so, and that's really all that happens with Braden, more or less. And then now with Jax, at now back at the firm, as she's kind of going over the status of the case, she lets the partners at the law firm know that, swaying public opinion and selecting the right people are the main focus, for what they need to do for Braden, and not, having him step down and kind of minimize his role as far as being the head of his company, even though that's what the board wants at, Braden's company. And she lets the law firm know that they need to stop micromanaging and questioning every move that she makes in his case. She does offer to turn over the case to anyone who has more criminal defense experience than she does. And it's just silence, it's like, who gonna check me, boo? And she's like, she's like, let me do what I'm doing, and we'll see if it, basically, I know what I'm doing. Let me do what I know what I'm doing. And also in this episode too, we see that Jack's biological father comes into town, and he texts to meet, Jax. She agrees, but he doesn't end up showing up, and instead her mother shows up at the bar slash restaurant. And Jackson's up blaming her, saying that, because she threatened her father, he didn't show up. And she also lets her mom know that she wished that she would have been so so hard on, accepting what her stepfather, you know, did to her. And this is again hints and kind of inklings that something happened between Jax and her stepfather that it seems like she either told her mother about or maybe her mother knew about, and her mom didn't necessarily protect her or do whatever Jax felt that her mom should have done to maybe protect her or keep her safe. Um, in regards to her stepfather. So and also too, I think too, when in the previous episode, Lewis keeps saying, talk to me, talk to me. I think that part of whatever is going on with how, how she's not communicating with Lewis also probably has to do with something that happened with her stepfather as well. Um, I think that has something to do with it too. Some kind of, ripple effect of whatever that is or was at that time, and they just haven't talked about it yet. Also, in this episode too, we they give a little bit of time to Fallon, Kalisha's cousin, who has started, the online movement hashtag Justice for Kalisha, and now she's going on the news and she's still on the internet, saying that Braden has killed her cousin, and to get justice for Kalisha, and so that's something that's still going on. And, again, Jackson, her team is trying to counteract that and try to, polish Braden's image, especially in the black community. And they talk about how he's good with like black conservatives and certain demographic groups he's good with. They're just trying to polish his image, mainly with black women in the black community and other certain demographics. But that's all we hear about Fallon, though. And then we go to Will, Night Patrol Bay. He, Braden. So she's jogging at night, and Will is like driving slowly behind her, creepily in the car. And, when she sees it, she, kind of stops over to the side, and he rolls down his window. And, he's like, I've been calling and texting you. Jax is like, it was fun, and like, let's just leave it at that. And Will is like, no. He says he wants more. What they had was special. It was only one night. I don't really understand here. And, it would be dumb for them to throw it away. And then he kind of dries off. And I mean, the lesson of the story here is don't sleep with the help. Not to say that people who, not saying that he's less, right. Not saying that he's less than she is, but like, she shouldn't have slept, like, go to some club, meet some random person, not the person who's supposed to be protecting you at night, who's been in your house, who may know your security system and all these different things like that. Don't sleep with the help in that regard. But how many people how many people with money have not learned this lesson in Hollywood, and people who aren't even in Hollywood? And then too, why is she running at night? I never understand that. That's like people who be, they live in the suburbs, and they be running in the forest and all these little paths, secluded in the forest and in the forest reserves and different things at night in 6, 7, 5 a.m. in the morning. I never understand that logic. Now it does look like she was running like, you know, within like the neighborhood of where she lives, but it was still kind of late at night. I mean, if he wanted to, he could have ran her over or blocked her or curved her and kind of threw her in the car or something if he's crazy. And also too, by the way that he's acted, I mean, the scene from episode 1 when it first opened, with her being tied up in the house with some intruder in all black, it may end up being Will, because he was a security guard. If he knows, how the property runs and the security codes and different things like that, then it may end up being him. Of course, it could also be somebody else, but right now I'm thinking that intruder is Will. Um, and then so now we go to Damon, aka Prison Bay, aka Michael Ealy. He meets Jax for dinner. But his debit card, it doesn't have the MasterCard or Visa logo on it. So the restaurant, they can't charge the amount of the meal. And so Jax ends up paying, but Damon, he feels a certain kind of way. He just got out of jail, and he says, I just don't want to feel like I owe anyone. And, he asks for her address, Jax's, so he can, mail her the money later, or, mail it tomorrow. And then we also have CJ, Damon's brother, who's been doing this like auto drug smuggling dealing thing at the auto shop. And he ends up giving Damon some money, but he's like, this is the last time I'm going to do it, just giving it to you. Next time you need to earn it. You need to, can you at least be the watch out, be the lookout when I, do these, sell these drugs illegally at night in my auto shop. And, Damon is hesitant, what he should be. He's like, I don't really want to do that. I just got out of jail, man. And I mean, it would be sad for him to go to jail after being in jail for 16 years for something he didn't do, and to only get out for committing to the crime that he didn't commit, and then to actually go back because, what his brother is doing, and because he's going along with it. So, either he needs to do something other than that auto shop. Hopefully his brother will. It doesn't look like his brother's gonna stop, because he's making, it's like thousands of dollars doing this how many ever times, a week or whatever. So he's making some bank doing this. But I mean, if the cops get a wind of this, or Damon's probation officer, he's gonna end up most likely going back. And this time it will actually be for something he actually is a part of, right? So, um, and so then we go to Spencer, who asks Lewis, you know, if you and Jax get a divorce, can I stay with you? And Lewis is like, no, me and your mom are gonna work it out. Um, And then they show a later scene when he's back home with Jax and she's about to leave out. She says, "Is there anything Jax asks Lewis, Jax asks Spencer, her son, does he want her to stay?" He's like, "No, I don't need you to stay." And he like slams the door and he locks it. And she like bangs on the door, like, "Don't you be locking this door in my house. We don't lock doors in this house." He's like, "Okay," but then he slams the door. And then even later, like in another night, she comes home, tries to give him something. The door's locked again. He got his headphones on. He doesn't hear her knocking. So grabs the power. She goes and grabs the power drill while Lil Kim is rapping "Money, Power, Respect." And she undrills the nails out of the doorknob and takes off the doorknob. And he opens the door like, "What you doing?" She like, "Stopping you from being a fuckboy." And she said, "If you do it again, I'm gonna take the whole door." And Spencer gonna learn today. He needs to respect his mom. And clearly, again, he's acting out. I'm assuming he's feeling angry about the divorce. He's older than his sister, so kids don't handle divorce. Sometimes kids don't handle divorce or separations very well, and that's kind of what he's doing. He's acting out, even though he's taking it out on Jackson, not necessarily his dad. But um, you know, that's basically what's going on with Spencer. They didn't even really show the. I don't think they even really showed. They did show the daughter, but nothing really happened with her. Yeah, nothing happened with her. She was just kind of there. Um, and now we go to Lewis. So he tells Jax that he's turned off the cameras in the house, and but Jax needs to tell him about Will and his creepiness, but she doesn't do that, of course. But she needs to. And Lewis goes to see, Jax goes to see Lewis after that incident with her father not showing up. And, they started to talk and kind of open up a little bit. And, Lewis says, "I wish you would give me the same amount of leniency that you give your dad, because he's let you down multiple times, almost your entire life, and you keep, trying to open up for him or try to be there for him, defend him, excuse his behavior. I make one mistake, I give you this ultimatum and you've been making me pay for it forever, to the point where I got a whole nother house and, a whole nother residence, you see. And, she's like, when I open up to you, you attack me and blah, blah, blah. And so, again, they keep, butting heads. They keep, it seems every time they almost open up a little bit, they just keep butting heads. They both keep trying to win the conversation. So it's very interesting to see where this ends up going. And then it kind of that's basically the end of it. He does also let her know that if 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 this keeps going the way that it's going, that he will try to get custody of the kids, or she won't, or basically she won't take his kids from him. Is basically what he says. And he kind of gets out the car and like slams the door. And that's kind of it with them. And then you have Damon ends up stopping by now at Jax's house to drop off the money that he owes her. And she lets him know that her and Lewis is separated, you know and Prison Bay was like, you don't owe me an explanation, thanks for letting me know, but I don't know what he did or what happened or whatever and whatnot, but I'm sorry to hear that, but whatever it is, he's an idiot to let you go, and it's all late at night, and she's like in her night negligee and kind of stuff. And she's like, I will let you in, but my kids are home. He's like, it's okay, I understand. But now he knows where she lives, and of course, all it's gonna take is one night when the kids are not home and he can come in, or he does come in, and that'll be interesting. That'll also probably be the night where creepy Will Night Patrol Bay is probably outside watching in his car from afar or something. So that'll be interesting too. And again, though, with Will, it's kind of like a one night stand, but with Michael Ealy, Damon's character, um, if they do end up becoming physical or intimate, or whatever word you want to use, it'll be interesting to see how that is, because she actually has. It's clear that she has some kind of feelings for Damon. It's not the same dynamic as it is with Will or some random, guy. So I think if she does end up crossing that line with Damon, it'll be interesting to see what the fallout will be. Will her and Lewis end up kind of getting resolve their issues before something with, Jax and Damon happens? So we'll see what ends up happening there. And then the last thing within this episode, is, which I said in the last episode, but so Ryan, Kalisha's husband, she lets Sarah, Braden's wife, know that he knows about the emails that she sent Kalisha. And Sarah's like, what emails are you talking about? And you know Ryan is like, he asked, did Braden find out about, your plan? And is that why Braden killed Kalisha? And Sarah was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Stay away from me and my family. And then she's like, I hate for you to end up like your slut wife. Okay. And then the episode ends with um, Sarah calls Ryan again, and he's like, how did you get my number? He said, you really showing your white privilege here. And she's like, my father is the president of one of the largest like data firms. I can get anybody's phone number. And she's like, you know we need to talk, because the emails that I sent to Kalisha aren't the end of the story, and don't you really want to know how it ends? And it kind of ends there. And I said in one of the other interviews, I can't remember, was it, I think it was maybe episode 3, I said, it could be the wife, because I think we met her last episode, Sarah. I said it could be the wife. It could also be Theo who killed Kalisha. It could still very well be Braden. Again, just because the NDA was signed does not make him like innocent. That's just the perception. But either way, that's everything that mostly happened in this episode. If I missed anything, comment below. If you like this review, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for those who have subscribed. Again, I'm trying to get 1,000 by the end of the year. And I will see you next review. Bye for now.